So I put a little presentation together. And it's quite interesting. I work from the heart. I'm in a very heart-based industry where we deal with ideas. So let's see where it goes. I can't even remember who came up with the topic. I'm not sure it was me. So I had to carve myself in line with the topic. I'm calling it a pep talk. But of course, the topic tonight is how to be your own life coach. And I thought I'll share 3 steps through my own experience. I'm 52 years old, turning 53 this year. I had a radical change in my life in 2007. I'm an entrepreneur that started Joe Public with my partner in 1998. And we're currently the #1 in our industry. And we also just off the back of a huge transformation deal that was based on the purpose of our business. So I'm just going to share whatever, and then hopefully you find value. And I'm going to keep an eye on the clock because I've literally finished this presentation about 10 minutes ago, as we do. And I don't want to sort of go over my time. I'd rather engage in conversation. I'm very conscious of our country and of my privileges. And I'm very conscious, and I'm showing 2 extremes on the slide. I'm very conscious of the fact that we are not all born equal in terms of the situation we're born into. But because I so believe in human potential, I really believe no matter where we are planted, we have the same potential. We really do. And it might sound easy for me to say it as a privileged person, but I've had my own challenges in my past, nothing that faces the majority of our South Africans today, but I believe in human potential. So I'm just putting that out there. I'm also very aware, I became aware of this insight through the journey of Siya Kolisi. The same caliber, the same might, the same level of excellence as Graham Smith, but I have to assume that his journey to that same position was radically different and far longer. And I'm aware of that. So I don't think we tend to look at each other where we end up, but we don't always look at where we start. And I find that journey, there's 2 sides to that journey. It's a tougher journey, but I believe it makes people more resilient and it gives them greater depth. So those are just a few of the contexts that I deal with. I'm dealing in my personal life with this idea of love. And I'm very conscious that sometimes at the upper end of life, people don't get love and it puts them back in adulthood. And right at the bottom end, economically, they can be showered with love, which completely changes their context. So it's so complex. I don't want to make it black and white. I just thought I'll mention it. I am interested in the fact that a young boy born into a little village in Umtata from this country became the most famous human in history, probably second to Jesus Christ. I mean, this fascinates me. And I kind of look at that and say, how is that possible out of this country? And then similarly, you find like a severely bullied young boy born in Pretoria, becoming the richest man on the planet. I think about a week ago, Elon Musk topped the tables. And again, I'm interested by that. If we all have same potential, what's the differentiator? What pushes some people to the outer limits of their lives? Or is it just our individual journeys? And as I say that, I also realize that you can just be a great mother and you would fulfill your purpose. So I don't discriminate between the man who's got the corner office and the person who's a receptionist. I don't think one's greater than the other, as long as they're fulfilling their duty to the best of their potential and their ability. So I thought I'll speak about responsibility. I think it's something that's lacking in our country. It's lacking in the world. I'll speak about responsibility, a big theme for me this year, responsibility. And it's almost more in the context of the ability to respond. So responsibility. And of course, the word is broader than just that, but our ability to respond positively to whatever life throws at us. Or our ability to respond in the most appropriate manner, no matter what the world throws at us. so something happened just now. There wasn't a towel outside the shower. And I got a bit irate because I'm a bit on edge because I'm doing a presentation. I'm a bit nervous. So I kind of like, where's the towel? Scream to my wife because I'm also a bit late. And I'm working with the concept also of acceptance. And acceptance just popped up in my mind. I went, just accept it. And the whole situation just turned more fun because I went, like, what's the point to get all excited about a towel? I mean, it's crazy. So how do I respond the most appropriate manner, no matter what the world throws me, even if there's not a towel outside my shower when I'm in a hurry? And we all know the expression, the VUCA world we live in, you know, the volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous, you know, this very uncertain world that's changing, and all the challenges, the socioeconomic challenges, you know, the big things that's globally like happening. And it's really phenomenal because this was even before the last 12 months. So on top of this world now, the world throws at us COVID-19, which has been so terrible for so many people. You know, I find myself so blessed that we were so mildly affected by it. When I look at some of the people that work for us who have lost parents in the last week, 4 of our staff members actually lost mums and dads out of the blue. And I've just spent a month with my mother. So the world throws this all at us, and I just sometimes feel like we're pushing this rock, this massive rock. And I mean, by I'm built like that. So when I push my rock, it's like this skinny guy pushing this massive rock up the hill, and I feel lonely on my journey because we all have our individual problems and challenges, and we're dealing with our internal turmoil, and we're putting on this world to see. Now, how are you? I'm fine. And I smile, but am I really fine inside? But I start questioning, rather than feel like I'm pushing this rock up the hill, how can I rather push the boundaries of my life? This one life, this gift that I've been given, this miracle. And that's why I loved your opening, CD, just the connection to the earth. You know, there's not enough of that kind of way of being in our business world today, where we just kind of like check in and realize who we really are. We're part of Mother Earth, you know, we're part of something greater than just my individual troubles. I think one of the first things, these are the little lessons we teach our children. You know, we do have these beautiful little metaphors and visuals. You know, when you point a finger at someone, we teach our children. But in adulthood, we very quickly and conveniently forget that. And I think this thing of responsibility starts with stopping pointing finger. Because what I've discovered, there was a time on Twitter I was very active, much more than today, because the business is in growth and I'm expanding my sort of sphere of influence. So I don't have as much time for social. But I used to be very active, and I used to lambaste government. And I used to have a wild opinion, you know, and I realized that for as long as I seek to point finger at others, you know, making excuses, blaming the economy, politics. If I was working for someone else, maybe I would be blaming my boss. Maybe I blame my wife when something goes wrong. Why is there no towel? You know, why is that her job? You know, she's not my servant. You know, I blame politics and the government. And when I do all these pointing fingers at other people, I actually defer my responsibility. And in that moment, I take away from my true potential as a human being. Because when I take true responsibility, I actually start to unleash my true potential. So I could look at my life story and I could say, well, I'm from an alcoholic home, violently abusive alcoholic background, and really very, very challenging for my context. And we all have very similar stories when we go back to our backstories of childhood, and they really form us from age 0 to 7. And I can use that as a crutch in adulthood if I don't step in responsibility, or I can actually see the magnificent way in which the universe works, in which that human being with his own challenges was put in my life to role model what I don't want to be. So I could respond to that in 2 ways. I can become that alcoholic in adulthood because I come from an alcoholic home. I can abuse my wife. I can do all those things. that I saw as a child, or I can respond to the opposite and actually really, really, really work at my inner development to be the opposite. And that's just one thing. I'm the same father, and I share this story often because I'm busy with NLP at the moment, and it seems to come up so often. It is so close in my unconscious, as a moment that happened at the age of 4, when he tried to shoot my mother in front of me and my sister. So I could use that damage as an excuse to behave in a certain way, or I can respond and be very conscious that even my words are like bullets. And when I use severe words, which I often do, I can hurt people, and I do hurt people. And then through consciousness, start shifting that behavior, which is what my child is teaching me. Because I realize how sensitive we are as creatures and how that gets sucked into our way of being and plays out in our adult lives and limit us. Or I can look almost, as I'm sitting here, I was pretty much a child slave in a way. I worked 7 days a week from the age of 12, Saturdays and Sundays, for my entire childhood. I remember the holidays in between. It almost feels like when you're studying for your MBA, 7 days a week. and holidays, you have a quick little break. But I started delivering newspapers. So I can look at that and sort of see the negative, or I can see the fundamental role that played in me becoming an entrepreneur and building a business from scratch with my partners to where we find ourselves today, at the beginning of the next chapter, because I don't believe we're anywhere close to what we set out to do. But really, really have tasted a high level of success in my business career. So I share this insight over and over, because, in advertising, you have to see an advert 3 to 5 times before the messaging sinks in. So the worst thing that can happen, in my experience, is always the best thing that can happen. I say that outside of experienced death, because I haven't experienced a really close death in my family. Very fortunate that way. So outside of that, my experience so far in life is every time something seems at face value the worst thing that can happen, it's always the best thing that can happen. So my 3 steps to responsibility is quite simple. Number 1, and you will find me, like my ongoing rhetoric for the past 14 years of my life, is purpose. And I'll unpack that, because I just didn't want to talk about it. I want to give a little bit more insight, a little bit more depth, and how purpose in life actually fundamentally informs our habits. We are extreme creatures of habit, and these habits are learned almost unconsciously from childhood. I don't believe you're born a racist. I think you're conditioned a racist, and I've grown through being a racist. And I'd like to believe I've outgrown it, but I've still got some prejudices and lenses that I have to be conscious of all the time. But these are things that are conditioned, and these habits we pick up from very young, and they become the way we eat and our belief systems and what we believe in, and they inform how we think. And often we end up not really thinking. We're thinking what someone else is thinking really is. And then the 3rd step, which is not going to be unpacked in depth, it's just a result, is actually fun. Because what I found at first, at face value, I found purpose so heavy. Purpose, a life of purpose, change the world, and changing my habits. But it's fun to drink, and it's fun to smoke, and it's fun to do all these amazing things. But are they really? And in changing my habits according to the instruction of my purpose, which I believe was God-given, universe-given, not really sort of linked to any particular religion, but definitely from a higher power, the way I experienced it. Over time, as I got used to this new me, who was actually just the original me, it was actually a fake me that was uncovered, and I became who I was born to be. And I had to start sort of reconditioning myself in line with who I was born to be. I started having more and more fun, and I became more at ease. And my anxiety disappeared. So yes, I had a bit of butterflies tonight that keeps me on my toes, but it was more excitement than anxiety and fear. And my life really became fun, even in the context of a severe challenge economically and globally, and on our health system and on our lives, called Corona. So I'll touch on the business quickly. You know, I always smile, like the Joe Public, the toilet sign. You know, our logo is seen more than Coca-Cola all over the world. So it's fascinating. Very powerful logo, more powerful than Coca-Cola. But we didn't use a toilet sign. This is more the man on the street. You know, originally it was, we want to make advertising for the man in the street. But as it turns out, unconsciously, our wisdom, our unconscious wisdom, not our minds are too dumb to come up with something this bright, but unconsciously, I think we created something that was all about people and all about the man on the street and the woman on the street. This is a unisex logo. This is all about the human being on the street, the everyday person who's not defined by a position, because I've shaken the hands of CEOs and they're clammy and wet with fear and stress. So this is what we envisioned, and always wanting to be the best, you know, really, really just striving to be excellent and to bring excellent value to the world, because that's how we make money, through exchanging value. And the more value you bring, like Apple, the more money you're going to make. Like Tesla, they're going to bring value over time to the earth, something greater than just to the founders' pockets. And then in 2008, 2009, this little business came crashing down because of the previous recession. The 2008 global meltdown knocked us hard. We didn't have cash flow in the business, and we pretty much turned at the door of the death of our business. And the gift of what happened there was the introspection I had to go in as a white male Afrikaans South African who's conditioned to be the breadwinner and who's defined by money at that stage, that I lost everything. Now I've lost my identity because I'm defined by money and success and being awarded creative. And I had to go on a deep soul search, very deep. I don't think this is the kind of work you can do consciously. So if I have to talk about being, you need to step deep within yourself. You need to send that submarine into your deepest depths and go and find the damage and start to restore it. Or in fact, before even finding the damage, I think it's one of the bravest things we can do is going within and owning our lives. But actually go and find out, why are you born? Why do I exist? So I'm an ad man. I'm a creative. I'm an advertising guy. But that's what I do. But why? As Simon Sinek said, the why, how, what, but the why. Why do I exist? And this was about 4 or 5 years before that incredible YouTube video of his, which just gave me so much more insight into the subject. And on the 12th of 2007, I found my life purpose, and it was biblical. It was monumental. It was so crazy. I shaved my hair. There's a picture later on of what my hair, I had beautiful long locks. They weren't yellow ochre like CDs, but they were long and curly, and I cut them overnight. And I used to wear bells on my shoes because I was the life of the party, and I was this incredible creative dude. And I folded up I cut those bells off and I hung them up. And I radically overhauled my life, not to change for the better, but to change back to who I was born to be, because I had that insight on my own life. And it was one word. And it fascinates me because I'm strategic as well. And I think I got so absorbed in this because it's so insightful and strategic. It's not all sort of hippie and pie in the sky stuff. It's super smart and insightful and strategic. And when I applied, when I changed my life and aligned my whole life to this strategy, to this purpose of my life, everything at that stage, which I measured, actually started to shift. Within a year, it just started to shift radically. My health started to recover. I was very unhealthy. I was about 20 kilograms heavier than now. My family, my relationship was nowhere. At face value, I would say it was 8 out of 10, but in reality, it was probably 1. The business was bankrupt. Financially, I had nothing. I always wanted a yacht. I couldn't afford a yacht at all, not even at a push. And I was dabbling in CSI and I was making no difference. And then what happened over the years to follow, the things that radically recovered start to exponentially expand. Everything exponentially started expanding my life. And I thought, what's going on here? So I wrote my first book, Growing Greatness, because I just wanted to share this message with the world, or at least with South Africa, by means of exclusive books. I wish I could share it with the entire world, but I think the world is catching on. In fact, the world's ahead. I think they've been talking about purpose for 400 years. We just haven't been listening. But you don't have to buy this book because the book fits on one page. And the insight is that we've become obsessed with our humanness, when in fact, we're not just humans. And I think I've shared this so often. Some people might have heard this before, but you need to hear this over and over for it to sink in. We're not just humans. Humanness is half our existence. In fact, it's even much less, I now know, but let's assume it's half our existence, our humanness. Then even if you're the highest performing person, which I know most people aren't, because we think we're doing the best that we can, we're not close to digging as deep as our potential really allows us to. But let's assume if I'm an 80% person, then 80% or 50% is 40%. So my output will be 40% no matter how hard I try, because I'm playing half a life. But on the other side of this equation is the image of God, the image of the universe, the image that you are born to be, your being, because we are human beings. And when you uncover the being's name, because on the left-hand side, you get the name given to you by your parents, John, by his parents, or Carmen, Tsidi, or Pepe. Andre, by the way, Andre Pepler. And that's the human side. But there is a name that each of us have unconsciously, but we're not aware of it. And that is your greater name. And that's the one word that I discovered is my purpose, my being name, my reason for being. So it's very much like I use the metaphor of a tree. It's very much like the way we labeled a tree. I mean, it has no meaning. We know that it's a sort of a trunk and leaves and branches, but that's kind of where it ends. But the being name could be life, because it gives oxygen. Or the being name could be shelter. I am shelter. So the tree could walk into this room. If it had to introduce itself by means of what we labeled it, it would go, hi, I'm tree. Whereas if it walks into the room labeled correctly through its being name, it will go, hi, I'm life. And I think the conversation with life will be so much more interesting. Oh, really? I thought you're tree. Why are you life? Well, actually, I produce oxygen and I keep the world alive. And now I'm going to think twice before I cut you down, my friend, because your name is life, not tree. Or no, my name's shelter because I've got 7 million little insects living in me and living off me. And my roots talk to other trees underneath and to get X, Y, Z. It's just fascinating. And, I came across this reading by Jane Goodall, and Jane fiercely believed that just like humans are human beings, monkeys are monkey beings. And when I read that, and she said, cows are cow beings, dogs are dog beings. And hence I stopped eating meat because I couldn't eat another being. Now, I'm not advocating become a vegan. I mean, that's my journey. But that's just how I got to that point, because I read it and I thought, that's so fascinating. I look at my dog in his eyes and I went, geez, this is a being. This is not just a dog. This is something far greater. And I did start questioning business. And can a business be a business being? So, for example, you might be an entrepreneur who's got a beauty shop in, let's say, Hyde Park, or wherever, like on a road in Rosebank, or wherever. You could have a beauty shop in Soweto, wherever you planted. You've got your beauty shop. And at face value, when I ask you, what's your purpose? It's beauty, because I make people beautiful. And when I dig a bit deeper and I work with you, you might find that the act of beautifying someone gives huge self-confidence. And maybe you're in the business of self-confidence. And once you discover you're in the business of self-confidence and not beauty, or just in confidence, I am confidence. This is what I sell. Your communication changed radically. So I started looking at brands globally. There's 42,000 brands listed across the world stock exchanges. That excludes all the non-listed entities. Must be hundreds of thousands. How many's got a purpose? How many has a purpose that actually we know from the outside when we look in? So do anyone want to think of the one word that you will relate to Woolworths and just post it? Ooh, I can't actually see. Okay, I'm just going to leave it there. I'm going to fly through. You see, that's what happened.
I'll read them for you if you want.
Yes, please. Just let's hear some one words. Let's get some engagement there.
Quality, qualities, quality, convenience.
There we go. Founded by Max Sonnenberg, 1931. Thank you for that. Hey, you know, don't point finger. Look at those 3 fingers pointing back at yourself. And see in your life, are you actually affordable yourself? You know, before you judge the brand, because we are all brands. I'm just saying, you know, as a brand sort of ambassador and expert, and an ambassador of people as brands, but quality. Now, you go and try and find one other brand in South Africa with that level of clarity. I don't think you will find one. So I became fascinated. Globally, I only found Volvo with safety, where people would naturally note safety. And at one stage, Toyota with reliability. So there's this huge opportunity. 3 out of 42,000 listed entities have that level of clarity. I went and searched a few websites. So their statement, and forget about how they deliver on them, because that's another huge challenge. But their statement is to provide or the original founder's statement, you know, because businesses, founders die, move on, become conglomerations. But founded by Max Sonnenberg, but his statement was to provide customers with superior quality products at reasonable prices. So someone started stuffing with his purpose because they started making it expensive. Because he said at reasonable prices, not cheap, but reasonable. And then what I find interesting when you go to the websites of various big successful brands, and I know Woolies has got their challenges, so I'm just lifting one out as an example. It starts with to, so a very active statement, to provide customers. So action, you know, like a big action. One of my favorite brands in the world, Full Night. I love Full Night. Sorry, my internet's a bit unstable. Let's give it a second. There we go. Shoe Dog. You know, we all know that blood exists to keep us alive. But you ask me, why do I exist? Not to make blood. And money is the same thing. We don't exist to make money. Businesses don't exist to make money. Here's one word. If you read the mission, which is linked to purpose, we learn about it in business school. Purpose is still sort of not completely in the business schools, but vision and mission is big in business school, and values. But inspiration, to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. If you have a body, you are an athlete. So they put that precursor in there going like, everyone who's with a body is an athlete. And they want to bring inspiration and innovation to these people. And then again, interestingly, starting with to. Or if I look at Apple, now Apple's latest mission statement is just, it feels like bean counters, with huge respect to Mr. Cook and Key. I mean, who am I to judge? But just at face value, it sounds so logical to bring the best personal computing products and support to students, educate, and I couldn't find a word to hook the statement on, because I'm best doesn't feel like a purpose. Whereas I'm inspiration, feels like a purpose. But when I went back and I actually found Steve Jobs' mission statement for Apple in 1980, his word was contribution. The man who made a dent in the universe, think what he did for the world. His word was contribution. I am contribution. I'm here to make a contribution to the world by making tools for the mind that advance humankind. And beautiful, so inspirational. I'd love to work for you. And then Tesla, of course, the richest man on the planet, born in Pretoria. If you go and you look at his mission statement, to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. I mean, magnificent. And when I looked at that, I tried to go, is it acceleration? Is it business acceleration? And then the statement was hooked onto acceleration. What's the core of this message? You know, to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy, or is it transition? And T is also transition. Tesla, which one could it be? Am I here to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy? Or is it, I'm sustainable? You know, am I here to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy? So I'm not completely clear exactly what the purpose word is, but the statement is super powerful. And the question I want to pose to everyone in this meeting is, brands have their North Stars, you know, but what is yours? What is your North Star? And a little insight is, I had to Google yours, is the apostrophe S or not? And as an Afrikaans person, was insightful, it's without an apostrophe. But what is yours? You know, what is your North Star? Like, what is that word that you stand for in life beyond your job description and your name given to you at birth? So, you know, we all know, be the change. You know, responsibility is all about, in the words of Gandhi, to be the change ourselves. But how? Well, find your word. That's the first step to responsibility. That's the first step to becoming your own life coach. And then once you find it, be it. And I think that's the Achilles heel, because 10 years after finding the purpose of our business, as a business, we're still not living it. I don't even think we're living at 5%. 14 years after finding my purpose, I'm probably living at 50% of the time, maybe even more. I work extremely hard on it, but the delivery on the purpose is it's like really hard work, but so fulfilling. So my word's greatness. The word that came to me in 2007, 12th of January, at about 11 o'clock at night, I was in such a state of energy when this came to me. And it was part of a very, very big process together with other people. Quite a radical process, which I advocate on a one-on-one basis, not an open forum, because I think it's a very personal choice. But what came to me in that moment, or before I explain it, I just have to, one of my learnings was that greatness might sound at face value like the greatest word. It's not. It's equal to whatever the word is, whether it's free, it's as powerful as free. I'm free is as powerful as I'm greatness, is as powerful as I'm love, is as powerful as I'm success, is as powerful as I'm openness. But trust me, each of us have got a word that we're born into this world to be. Mine came with, which gave me a massive insight, because I think in absence of it, I would be lost. And my description was to bring out the best in those around me. Quite simple, through being the best I can be. And that became my journey 14 years ago. So even this platform, which I really appreciate, I jump at the opportunity because I want to offer my learnings and my experience to bring out the best in each of you through sharing this. And what I also found is we start our life with vision, but vision in the absence of purpose, not always, but mostly, is self-serving. You'll find that vision, if you really look at vision in the absence of purpose, just start with a vision, which is also the way most businesses start, with a vision. When you go and unpack that vision, you will find at its heart, it's self-serving. But if you start with purpose, purpose inspires a much more sharing vision. So my purpose inspired a vision that's to create a country that's a shining example to the world. I believe this country is positioned. It's going through all the stuff it goes through to find itself. That's all that's happening. The worst thing that can happen is going to spawn the best thing. It's coming. It's gone through a lot of atrocities to get to where it is, and we are going to become the shine to this world that we live in my view. And this insight allowed me to plan for the first quarter century, not just the first quarter. So I've got a 25-year plan inspired by my purpose and my vision, which I wrote in 2007 towards 2032, which I'm living every step of the way is planned accordingly. And then all I did is I took greatness and I carved myself deliverable values. Growth, I'm obsessed about personal growth. I'm obsessed about responsibility for my business, for the people that are in our business.
Maybe we lost you a bit there.
Excellence. I'm absolute.
How's the network?
I am intolerable of mediocrity. Okay, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Okay, great. We can hear you.
Yeah, I'm going a little bit slow, so I'm gonna speed up. My network's, yeah, it's a little bit low. Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're good.
Where did you lose me? So excellence, acceptance is my big value I'm working with now, and to actually accept what is and to rather fall in line with the bigger picture that's playing out in my life, not to try and make my mind things happen by my mind, but following the flow and the will of the universe, and trust that it's going to take me towards my vision. So I live this out in my life. That's me with long hair, in my relationship with my best friend and partner in life. I live it out as a father. I live it out in our business, which has got its own purpose, which is to be the fertile soil that grows our people, our clients, and our country. I live it out in the books that I write, the first one and the second one. And the second one I wrote in habits, and I want to quickly touch on habits, and then I'm going to finish up. Because I realize that I don't want to judge good and, but we do have limiting habits and liberating habits. I used to smoke for 18 years. I loved it. I loved it. It limited my life. I used to drink for 20 years heavily. I loved partying. I was the life of every single party. I will close the bar, but it was limiting my life. And I started exchanging my limiting habits with liberating habits because my purpose informed me. My direction sort of gave me that insight and the strength to give up my limiting habits. So I turned wine into water. Magnificent. I can highly recommend it. I say 48 hours per week. So I now work 2 weeks in a week because I don't drink anymore and I don't have hangovers. And I get up at 4 in the morning. So I turned swearing into a more creative vocabulary. I slowed because I started thinking about, I know it's expressive and maybe I'll swear, I think about 6-8 times a year. I must actually measure and see how many times it's a year I'll swear. But I just found it's a little bit uncreative. So maybe I can find a more creative way and learn to speak a little bit more excitedly. I started replacing negative thoughts with positive affirmations every single day. This is yesterday, Wednesday, 20th of January. That's my reflections every morning that I do at 6 o'clock. Some of it's 4 pages every single day of my life. 6 days a week and Sundays I rest. And I replaced sitting out, although I am a stepping in kind of guy, but I started stepping into more situations. If someone asks me to do something that makes me feel uncomfortable, I'm going to do it because it's going to grow me. And I might sweat a little bit and I might blush a little bit, but it's going to grow me. So I do that. And I replaced being a corporate pedestrian with being a corporate Olympian. And I realized if I want to win gold in life, I better train like an Olympic athlete. And we often want the gold at the end of the rainbow, but we're not willing to train like an Olympic athlete. And then we don't understand why life's not giving it to us, because we're not giving it to life. So that's my mission, and that's my purpose, inspired. And then what's the purpose of purpose? Almost in closing, and then I've got one short little story. What is the purpose of all this purpose? Honestly, it's fun. It's fun. How can we live a life where we spend 60% of our lives at work that makes us miserable? Where we go, hey, it's Friday, and we dread Monday. Like, how can that even make sense? And within this capitalistic system, which I think is probably the best that we've got as a system, all it needs is consciousness. We need conscious capitalism, which is a big movement coming from the States. I subscribe to that. Conscious capitalism, inverted pyramid. Am I gone? Am I back, TD?
You're gone. You're back now. So you're still saying we go Friday and then we dread Monday. That's where we started losing you.
Sorry about that. Yes. So we don't have enough fun. And I just think, what is the point in that? And I found that purpose have pointed me towards a life where I've turned work life into magnificent fun with all its challenges. So that is the ultimate output. It puts anxiety to bed. I suffered from social phobia for 20 years of my life. It's helped put that to bed. And it's really become my motto and the foundation that I'm building the next chapter or the next 50 years of my life upon. Because real fun lives on the edge of fear. Real fun. You know, the fun that we do, the things we do every weekend. Yes, that fun is fun. It makes us smile. But the real fun It happens when we step into those things that scares the living daylights out of us. So the world is upside down. There's no doubt. We might be all hanging like bats upside down at the moment, but it's perfect. It is designed to evolve us towards consciousness. It is designed to bring out the best in us if we step into responsibility, if we stepped into being our life coaches of our own lives and take ownership of our lives. So I want to end with a story. I hope this is the last story. It should be. This is something that came to me from the greater consciousness. It was not my idea at all. I was struggling with whether I'm good enough to lead our company from number 17 in our industry to number 1. Because the ambition was to move it to number 1 in our industry, and we were number 17. And it was my responsibility. And I did some introspection work with Nancy Klein, time to think work, great work to get engaged with. And I found out that my unconscious limiting assumption was that I'm not good enough creatively. I unlocked it and it became, I'm the most creative person in the history of mankind. And I may be, it's an assumption, but it's a limiting assumption. And the very next day, I was driving in my car. I remember the exact spot when a message came out of the blue into my head. And it was in a picture form, which to me shows that it's an unconscious thought, because our language is conscious, it's learned. It depends on which home you're born into. And the message came in picture form, and the words followed in English, which was interesting because I'm Afrikaans. If there is a God, and God created the world and everything on it, and I'm created in the image of that God, what is my creative power? Didn't say there is or there isn't. If there is a God, and that God created the world and everything on it, and I'm created in the image of that God, what is my creative power? And I believe that power resides in every single one of us to change this world, or at the very first step, to change our own environment, our own lives, our own habits, through finding purpose and making a difference first in your own small life. Well, I didn't mean to say your own small life. I mean in your own life, just your small circle of your life, then your life around you, your partner, your family, then maybe the people around them, and you make that circle as big as you want to. But it starts there. So thank you very much.